Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones, and in this segment, I want to talk about higher education. And what I mean by higher education, I'm talking about high school through college. Although elementary and junior high or middle school education is just as important. Now, why am I doing this topic? I'm doing this topic because it's important that you understand what's creating this hatred for America. So, the title of tonight's video is Higher Education is Creating a Marxist Culture. Higher education is creating a Marxist culture. Now, when I talk about Marxism, I'm merely talking about an ideology that was ordained by a German philosopher named Karl Marx. Now, some of you might be asking me, how is this significant in education? Well, let's go back to the 60s, because prior to the 60s, most of your colleges and universities had a conservative culture, particularly schools such as Purdue University in Lafayette, Indiana, here in the Midwest. But now when you go out to the West Coast and you have schools such as Cal Berkeley and Stanford, and you travel back to the East Coast and go up to Boston where you have Harvard and so many other Ivy League schools such as Yale, then you see a contrast when it comes to ideology. Now, it's very important that you understand that higher education starts from high school. Although today it's coming from elementary school to middle, junior high school, then high school. Now, the point I'm making is what you have going on today with a number of these protesters out here is the education system that they come from. And if you look at some of the ideologies that result from this education, you will find out that the agenda is a Marxist agenda. Although, when it comes to the left-wingers here in this country, a number of them had good intent, or you thought they had good intent. They just slid it under the rug so you would not know where they're coming from. Now, when it comes to your colleges and universities, right now, many of them slant left. They slant left because of a number of professors. In fact, if you've gone to college, a number of you may have taken some classes from certain departments, such as English, women's studies, sociology, history. Now, it is very important that you understand what's going on, because in previous videos, I have mentioned two well-known professors by the name of Cloward and Pivens. They're very significant because they were from Harvard. And what Cloward and Pivens devised in this country was a theory to basically collapse the system. And I'm talking about the system as we know it, with capitalism. Their whole mindset was for everybody to converge down to their state offices, to the welfare office, and collapse the system so they can establish a new system. And the new system is a Marxist or socialist system. Now, if you look at the movements like Black Lives Matter, the feminist movement, your Black Panther movement, your Weather Underground movement, and there's another movement out which I'm going to talk about in next week's Blog Talk Radio show, PPC, the People's or the Poor People's Campaign. And then you have the NEA. Now, the NEA is a big teachers union. Everybody should know that. And I believe the NEA has influence on the curriculum that is being taught in school. And the reason why I'm saying that, because when I was in middle school, we had home ec. We also had industrial arts. Those have been scrapped. And then in high school, there was vocational education. That was scrapped out of high schools, but you could go to the community college level to take Votech. Now, with all that being said, what you have going on in these colleges is a lot of indoctrination going on. And if you don't believe me, you look at what's going on in your media. You have a number of individuals who have no common sense, but they speak as if they were intellectual. You look at CNN, Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper. A number of those journalists went to college. But when you hear them speak, they come from a left-wing point of view. And what college is doing, it's basically indoctrinating students with a left-wing point of view. And when I talk about diversity, I'm not talking about racial diversity. I am talking about diversity of ideas. And in college, conservative points of view are rarely heard. And also, if there is a conservative speaker, conservative speakers are frowned upon. But when you deal with college today, a number of students don't have common sense. A number of students are paying a lot of money to go to these institutions of higher learning. And what they're learning to be is social justice warriors. Again, look at all the protests. Many of these students, believe it or not, in Black Lives Matter, although it was founded by 3 black women and financed by George Soros, a number of your protesters are not black. They're white. They're suburban whites. They're white liberals. If you look in Congress, you have a number of white liberals like Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, Hillary Clinton. Now, all of these ladies went to college, but they have one thing in common. They're all feminists. Now, where does feminism come from? I know Betty Friedan started the National Organization for Women, but feminism started in academia. Now, when Vietnam was going on in the 1960s, there were a number of individuals who got out of the draft and went to the war. Correction, they got out of the draft and went to college to avoid the war. And when that happened, a number of these professors had the hate America attitude. Now, it's worse now, but the hate America came from all of your college institutions. Now, I am not saying that a child shouldn't go to college, but what you're learning now in college is political correctness. You even have Rutgers. They want to add some new ethnic or ethics or ethnic. I believe it's ethnic course, and I guarantee that's going to connect to race. And there are a number of colleges that are also going to go in that direction. In fact, when it comes to the technical school, some of the professors who are in science, technology, engineering, and math have complained because they're taking out the technical classes and they're employing more of the social justice courses. For the most part, you do not need a degree in women's studies. You don't need a degree in sociology. You don't need a degree in history. Now, if you're going to get one in some of those other areas that I mentioned, you should go to law school. But even some of your law schools are teaching Marxism. Now, why do I say colleges and public education are dangerous? They're dangerous because these are the institutions that are teaching our children. And if you look at what's going on with the millennial generation right now, these are the individuals who hate America. And when they go back home from college, they hate their parents. And what these colleges are teaching these students is you don't need men, you don't need nuclear families, you don't need capitalism, you don't need to be independent, and everything is about racial diversity or cultural Marxism. So what's going on now with a lot of these young kids who are coming out of college, they don't have any life experience, so they don't know how to make decisions because they were sitting in college learning about one point of view, and that point of view is a dangerous point of view. In fact, some of these professors that are teaching in schools here in America come from other countries. If you think about it, Eastern Europe were Poland, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, and there were some other countries that were part of the communist regime. If you look at China, they're communists. Well, if you hear individuals such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she is a socialist. She went to school and majored in economics. She doesn't know anything about economics. In fact, when you ask her a question, she can't answer it. But she believes that everybody deserves universal basic income. She believes in redistribution of wealth. She's the one who also didn't want Amazon coming into their city. Now, all these individuals who are in college have this model where they want the upper 1% to pay for everything. But they forget a lot of the rich individuals are on their side, like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, George Soros. Then you have your LeBron Jameses. You have your TIs. You have a lot of your celebrities. But when it comes to being compassionate, these individuals act as if they are compassionate, but they don't care about anybody but their own lifestyle. In fact, these are the individuals who believe in population control. These are the individuals who want to force us all to take a vaccine. These are the individuals who don't believe in freedom at all. They act as if the other side doesn't believe in freedom and the other side is fascist. But meanwhile, they're fascists because they're constantly preaching racism, sexism, homophobia. They have this mindset that the world is all equal with rose-colored glasses. That's not the truth. In reality, all this hate and disdain for the other side comes from your academia. These individuals think they're better than the average person, and I'm talking about your PhDs. And I'm talking about a lot of your students who have gone to college and graduated. A number of them don't have a job. They're living home with their parents. They act like they know better than you about what's going on out in the world, although they haven't been in the real world. And when you go to college, you have to understand that you're going to be indoctrinated. And if you don't play by the rules, your grade is going to suffer. Now, how can you combat the Marxism in college? Well, here's the way I did it. Because I had to take some courses, but I got around it by listening to other people who took certain professors. Still don't take a certain professor. I was also told, take the class at a community college. Although community colleges do have some Marxist professors, however, when it comes to the community college level, most of your community colleges have adjunct professors, which is a good thing because a lot of these professors who are in academia are making six figures. And what they do, they have a big class, and I'm talking about your 1 and 200 level classes have your freshman and sophomore students. Well, they're taking those classes because that's the first part of the curriculum before they get to their major and their junior and senior level. And when they get to that level, the courses are actually smaller. But in your gen ed courses, this is where they're getting their indoctrination. And talking to a number of these college students, they don't know how to think. Everything is based on feelings. When you have a conversation with them, they want to end the debate by calling you racist, calling you homophobe, xenophobe. And that same mindset transfers into the political system. If you look at a lot of your Democrats today, your Democrats went to college. People on the left think they're smarter than people on the right. Now, the people on the left are winning the propaganda battle because they own all the institutions. I mean, your big corporations with Bill Gates, Apple, Walmart. Then you have your Black Lives Matter. You have your Antifas. You have your print media, which is your New York Times and your Washington Post. In fact, when it came to the Washington Post, a high school kid by the name of Sandman just won a $250 million lawsuit. But getting back to college, college is being run by a bunch of Marxists. And going back to higher education, when we talk about high school, well, you have a number of teachers who don't want school to open up because they're using the coronavirus as an excuse. Well, in reality, kids may get the coronavirus, but it's highly unlikely that they're going to spread the coronavirus to anyone else because kids have a better immune system and kids need to go to school. Well, when it comes to these Marxists, you have SEIU, which is the Service Employees International Union, and NEA, the National Education Association, which is part of the Marxist organization, and they go hand in hand with teachers. And see, when it comes to teachers, a number of teachers are getting paid pretty well. I know when I lived in Pennsylvania, teachers were making as much as engineers. Now, teachers have a hard curriculum. Being a teacher is one of the most underappreciated professions when it comes to any type of career because you have to be a babysitter. You have to be a counselor. But these teachers, they went to college and they were taught this Marxism. And the reason why these kids are very disrespectful today is because the school system, which takes a lot of money from these taxpayers, is basically telling their kids not to like their parents. That's right. And parents don't participate with this education. Parents should be looking at what the kids are learning in school, going to PTA meetings. Parents should be talking to teachers one-on-one. Parents should be asking their children what they're learning in school. Parents should be observing the textbooks. Parents should be going to school board meetings. You see, when it comes to education, there's politics involved with education. Education, particularly your public education, has been abysmal, particularly your inner city schools, for the last 60 to 70 years. But your education system, like your colleges, the tuition keeps going up. And when students finally finish a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, they're steeped with debt. Now you have these lefties who went to college. They want to have some type of loan forgiveness program. Now, these colleges get a lot of aid from the taxpayers. These colleges' tuition continues to go up. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of these administration or your board members, whether they're in college or whether they're in high school, they don't care about the students. These lower schools are teaching kids about homosexuality. They're teaching them that you don't need fathers in the house. And then when they go to college, they hear the same thing. In fact, when it comes to politics, there's only one point of view on these colleges. And if you don't believe me, go to college in some of these social science departments. You take a women's studies class. I know Iowa State or the University of Iowa, they even have a degree in SJW. And most of those students come out as social justice warriors. In fact, the social justice warriors right now are dictating their proposed policies to all of us. And if you don't comply, you're going to be labeled a racist. You're going to be labeled a homophobe. You're going to be called every name in the book because you don't agree with their point of view. Again, if you look at Black Lives Matter, you look at Antifa, these are individuals who went to college. A number of these individuals are white kids. And the most dangerous white person in America today is your white liberal. Again, there is no difference between white supremacy and your white liberal. There is no difference. Now, if you can point out something, it's going to be this. Your white liberal acts as if they are compassionate about black people or other races of people. But what they're really thinking is, we know more than black people and other races of people. So they think because of their guilt, because white liberals are more guilty than your white supremacists, they think their fake compassion is going to help black people. Well, it hasn't helped black people. It's kept black people in the ghetto. These are the individuals who had gone to college. These are the individuals who believe that the more education academically that they have, the better they are for society. Barack Obama, a number of these other Democrats, know how to speak well, but beneath their speaking, they're just uttering the words of Karl Marx. You look at Saul Alinsky, his 12 Rules for Radical. You look at the Weather Underground. Again, going back to the Black Panthers, black theology or black liberation theology. All of these movements stem from Marxism. What these individuals don't understand is you cannot allow the government to take over your life. In fact, Marxism really started over in Europe, and it came over here. Again, your academics who were in Europe, they're now teaching inside our schools here in America, and our kids are getting indoctrinated. And if you don't wake up, we're going to lose our country. So what's really going on stems from your colleges and universities. And if I'm going to protest, I'm going to protest against the colleges and universities. And something else that I could do, if I was running that system, I'd take away their federal funding. Because if I'm paying my money to go to college, I should be allowed to have an alternative view. But in college, these professors don't teach students how to have alternative views. What they teach students to do is basically disregard the other side. These professors are doing nothing but teaching children how to be tyrants. Many of them are not good in the workplace. They carry that Marxism everywhere they go, from simple things like dating to dealing with their parents. College does not teach a lot of these social justice warriors how to solve problems logically. They only teach reaction. They don't teach proaction. And when it comes to dealing with this political climate, many of these SJWs who went to college act as if they're entitled. They have all these demands. You hear a number of them out here talking about they dislike the police. But here's something to tell you. The minute something happens, who are they going to call? Ghostbusters? No, they're going to call the police. Many of these individuals who are SJWs and went to college, if you ask some of them who's third in command, if the president or vice president should pass, they couldn't tell you. Because what you're learning in college is a bunch of PC, political correctness. You're learning a bunch of Marxism. You're learning everything from the left-wing point of view. And in the end, as a student, you're lost. Look at the millennials. They're a lost generation. And the Zoomers, they're starting off where the millennials left off. Why? Because the people that you want to get to drive a leftist agenda is the children. Why? Because they don't know anything right now. They haven't experienced much. And it's easy to coerce them. Because right now, you have a number of millennials and Zoomers who do not like this country. They don't know anything about this country. They don't read. They've just been taught and told to do from not only a professor's point of view, but they look at the media. And the media has also produced Marxists. But coming from college, you have students going into the media, and from the media puts out its propaganda. A lot of these colleges are putting out propaganda. And what I'm doing in this video is giving you an overview that if you go to college, You need to watch what your children are learning. Because if you're paying a lot of money to go to college and your child is learning about communism, you should know what communism is, but you should also know the history of this country. Good, right, or indifferent, or good, bad, or indifferent. Because this is America. And if you don't like America, move to another country. But when it comes to academia right now is failing all of our children. And if you don't believe me, you listen to some of these professors, because these professors are hateful themselves. They want to destroy this country. Because at the end of the day, they believe in Marxism. Because they come from Marxist countries. But you have to ask some of these professors why they're here. They're here because they have the freedom to say what they want to say. So to end this video, I just want to say, if you go to college, high school, or any university, question what your professors and teachers say. Because when it comes to education, I'm going to say this. It's your future. It's your choice. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. Also, check out the Mind of STEM channel. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. You can also check me out on Blog Talk Radio. In fact, my next Blog Talk Radio show, I'm going to get more in depth into this education system. The number is 215-383-5785. And if you can't find me on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, simply check me out on Facebook and Twitter. And at the end of the day, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Once again, I thank you for listening to this commentary of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show right here on YouTube. And just want you all to think about what I just said. Once again, my name is Leon Jones. God bless you. I'm out.